sometimes you can find that there are stories in different Gospels which are different stories which still have some overlap which suggests their truth. So for instance, in Luke's Gospel, we get a story of Mary and Martha and how Mary is sitting at Jesus' feet learning and Martha is very, very busy serving. And then we have a completely different story about Mary and Martha in John's Gospel, where Jesus is raising their brother from the dead. But again, some of the same characteristics show through in terms of Martha's activism and Mary being the more contemplative and so on. So I'd say you get corroboration like that. You can also get, with the chronology of the Gospels, ways in which they dovetail in Passover week, where details from John's Gospel and Mark's Gospel can fit very well together. So I'd say that the Gospels have some relationship with each other, so that Matthew, Mark and Luke aren't entirely independent, but we can see enough of when they report an event from independent angles that they're actually fitting together. One example I like between Matthew and John is how in the resurrection accounts, which are really rather different, in Matthew's Gospel, the women run away from the tomb, they meet Jesus, and it says they held on to him, and he says to them, "Go and tell my brothers about what's happened." And it's very similar pattern happens in John, even though the story is very different, because it's Mary on her own, and she turns and sees the person she thinks is the gardener, who is Jesus, who tells her not to hold on to him, which again fits in what we have in Matthew, and that she's to go and tell his brothers. So you get these sorts of details. You find in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus goes to pray before he's arrested, that in Matthew, Mark and Luke, he's praying that he wouldn't have to go through this. He's praying that the cup would be taken from him. And in John, it doesn't say anything about a prayer about the cup. But when they come to arrest Jesus in John, and they're trying to grab hold of him, Peter intervenes, trying to have a sort of physical combat, and Jesus says, "Shall I not drink the cup that the Father has given me?" And it's really striking, because why would he use that particular phrase? Well, he had the word cup on his mind because he'd been praying about it. So those sorts of details dovetail and are the sorts of things we'd expect if we got true reporting.